The Old West gave us some legendary guns: the Colt single-action army, the Winchester rifle. These weapons became symbols of frontier life. And then there was the LeMat Revolver, a gun so wild it packed 9 bullets and a shotgun blast in the same frame. This is why it never made it out west. The LeMat Revolver started with a French doctor named Jean-Alexandre François LeMat. He moved to New Orleans in 1843 during a cholera outbreak. The city needed doctors badly, but LeMat had other interests too. He liked inventing things. New Orleans at that time was a dangerous place with duels, crime, and constant threats of violence. LeMat saw a problem with the guns people carried. Most revolvers only held 6 shots. In a close fight, 6 bullets might run out fast. So LeMat came up with something crazy. He designed a revolver with 9 chambers for regular bullets. And underneath the main barrel, he added a second barrel that worked like a small shotgun. You could fire 9 pistol rounds, then flip a lever and blast someone with buckshot. 1 gun, 2 ways to kill. If you are learning something new about the Old West, hit that like button and subscribe. More details coming that you will not find anywhere else. LeMat got his patent on October 21, 1856. His wife's cousin was a man named Pierre-Gustave Toutant Beauregard, a U.S. Army major who would later become a famous Confederate general. Beauregard loved the design and helped promote it. In 1859, they showed the gun to the U.S. Army in Washington, D.C. The military liked what they saw. They said it could work great for cavalry charges, artillery crews, and naval battles. The shotgun barrel could tear through groups of enemy soldiers or stop boarding parties on ships. But the Army said no. The problem was manufacturing. LeMat had no factory in America that could make these guns in large numbers. Colt and other American companies already dominated the market. They made simple revolvers by the thousands. The military wanted American-made weapons, and LeMat could only produce his guns in Europe. So he took his patents to Belgium, France, and England. A gunsmith named John Creeder in Philadelphia made about 250 prototypes. But real production happened overseas in Paris and later in Belgium. Then came the Civil War. Louisiana left the Union in January 1861, and Beauregard joined the Confederacy. The South desperately needed guns. They ordered 5,000 LeMats from the War Department and 3,000 from the Navy. Here is where things got messy. The Union Navy blockaded southern ports. Getting guns from Europe meant using blockade runners, ships that snuck through enemy lines carrying weapons. The journey went through Bermuda or Nassau, dodging Union patrols the whole way. The risks were huge, and so were the prices. A LeMat that cost $35 at the factory ended up costing $80 or more by the time it reached Confederate hands. Only about 2,900 LeMat revolvers were ever made between 1856 and 1865. Of those, somewhere between 1,500 and 2,500 actually made it to the Confederacy. Compare that to Colt, which produced hundreds of thousands of revolvers during the war. The LeMat was rare from the start. Now let me tell you what made this gun so unusual. The standard LeMat fired .42 caliber balls from a 9-shot cylinder. Each chamber used cap and ball percussion ignition, meaning you loaded black powder, a lead ball, and a percussion cap by hand. The central barrel underneath was an 18-gauge smoothbore, about 63 caliber. You could load it with buckshot, sometimes 11 to 15 pellets, or a single large ball. To switch between the revolver and shotgun, you flipped a lever on the hammer. Down for pistol shots, up for the shotgun blast. The gun measured about 13 1/4 inches long. The revolver barrel was 6 3/4 inches. Unloaded, it weighed between 3.1 and 4.1 pounds. loaded up even heavier. The pistol rounds traveled at around 620 feet per second, with an accurate range of about 40 yards. The shotgun worked best within 20 to 30 yards. Loading this thing took forever. You had to ram powder and ball into each of the 9 chambers using a jointed ramrod attached to the frame. The shotgun barrel loaded the same way. In the middle of a fight, you were basically carrying a dead weight once you emptied it. Reloading under fire was nearly impossible. Different versions came out over the years. The second model got rid of a weird spurred trigger guard that people hated. A lighter Navy version used .35 caliber with a 28-gauge shotgun barrel. There were even baby LeMats scaled down to .32 caliber, but only about 100 were ever made. Some manufacturers created carbine versions with extended barrels up to 20 inches and a rifle stock attached. These turned the LeMat into a revolving shotgun rifle hybrid. After the war ended, LeMat tried to update his design for metallic cartridges. The centerfire versions from 1869 used 12mm or 11mm cartridges with a 24-gauge shot barrel. But by then, new double-action revolvers from Smith & Wesson were taking over. You could fire those faster without manually cocking the hammer each time. The LeMat was already old technology. People who used the LeMat had serious complaints. The shotgun recoil was brutal. One young private who tested it called the kick unbearable. The heavy weight threw off your aim. The .42 caliber ammunition was not standard, so soldiers often had to mold their own bullets, which was a huge pain during wartime supply shortages. Black powder residue gummed up the switching mechanism. Dust and grit jammed the cylinder lock. Meanwhile, the Colt 1860 Army fired .44 caliber, held 6 shots, weighed only 2.6 pounds, and worked reliably in almost any condition. During the Civil War, the LeMat found its place with Confederate cavalry and officers. Mounted soldiers liked carrying multiple pistols because drawing a fresh gun was faster than reloading. The LeMat's 10-shot capacity, 9 regular plus 1 shotgun blast, gave them an edge in chaotic close-range fighting. Beauregard himself said the gun was perfect for cavalry, charging infantry squares, or fighting against Indians. Some famous Confederates carried LeMats. General Beauregard had an engraved model that now sits in a museum. J.E.B. Stuart, the legendary cavalry commander, used one. He was actually firing his LeMat when he got mortally wounded at the Battle of Yellow Tavern in 1864. Stonewall Jackson, Braxton Bragg, and several other generals owned them too. Stories spread about officers using the grape shot to stop Union boarding parties on blockade runners. Cavalrymen reportedly blasted buckshot into Yankee charges and turned the tide of skirmishes. The LeMat became a symbol of Southern fighting spirit. But here is where reality catches up. When the war ended in 1865 and America looked westward, the LeMat had no place in the new frontier. The Old West between 1865 and 1890 needed guns that were reliable, lightweight, and easy to supply. The LeMat failed all 3 tests. Start with the weight. At over 4 pounds loaded, the LeMat was a brick on your hip. Cowboys spent long days on horseback. They needed quick draws for sudden danger. The Colt Peacemaker weighed 2.3 pounds and holstered easily. The LeMat did neither. Ammunition was a nightmare. The .42 caliber rounds were unusual. Out west, .44-40 and .45 Colt dominated. You could walk into any general store and buy those cartridges. With a LeMat, you had to mold your own bullets on the trail. That meant carrying lead, powder, caps, and a bullet mold while driving cattle across Texas. Nobody wanted that hassle. The complexity killed it too. The switching mechanism between revolver and shotgun modes fouled up with dust. The frontier was nothing but dust. Reloading 9 chambers plus a shotgun barrel took an eternity. In a gunfight, you needed to shoot and reload fast. Billy the Kid used a simple revolver for a reason. The shotgun feature sounded great on paper. One blast of buckshot at close range could end a fight. But the recoil was so harsh, it could injure your wrist. And out in the open spaces of the West, fights happened at longer ranges. A shotgun blast that only worked within 30 yards was less useful when your enemy was 100 yards away on horseback. Economics sealed the deal. After the war, surplus Colt revolvers flooded the market. They were cheap and everywhere. The Lamat was rare and expensive. The West ran on practicality. Ranchers, lawmen, and outlaws bought what worked and what they could afford. Fancy guns were for collectors, not working cowboys. By 1873, the Colt single-action army became the standard frontier weapon. The Lamat, with its weird caliber, heavy weight, and complicated mechanics, simply could not compete. Some Lamats did make it west, with Confederate veterans moving to Texas or California. Historical records show them occasionally appearing on cattle drives or in gold mining camps. But usage was sporadic at best. The technology had moved past it too. Revolving rifles had already failed because of chain fire risks where multiple chambers could ignite at once. The LeMat carbine carried the same stigma. Meanwhile, lever-action Winchesters became the rifle of choice. They were safer, faster, and used the same ammunition as your sidearm. Today, the LeMat lives on through reproductions. An Italian company called Pieta has been making faithful copies since 1985. Reenactors love them for historical authenticity. You can shoot a modern LeMat and feel that satisfying boom from the shotgun barrel, though the recoil still stings, just like the originals. In popular culture, the Man in Black character in the HBO show Westworld carries a modified LeMat. Original LeMats, in good condition, sell at auctions for over $50,000. The LeMat Revolver was an amazing piece of engineering. It gave Confederate officers overwhelming firepower in close combat. General Beauregard believed in it. J.E.B. Stuart died with one in his hand. But innovation has to meet practicality. The LeMat promised too much and delivered too many problems. In the American West, where survival depended on reliability and simplicity, the humble 6-shooter won every time. The LeMat remains a fascinating piece of history, a gun too ambitious for its own good. If this story surprised you, drop a like and subscribe for more deep dives into the weapons that shaped America.